Hello and welcome. We have a Marshall Origin 5 on the bench. So we just lean it forward there. You can see, I'll move my mitts out of the way. You can see there, got pull, boost, volume, tilt, whatever that is, bass, middle, treble. I've worked on some of these before, but not this particular one. I think I've done the 20 and the 50. But don't ever remember working on the 5. So I've turned this amp on and it's lights on but no one at home, so it's just dead. There is a slight humming coming out of the speaker, so we need to get into it and see what's wrong with it. Let's swing it round. Have a look at the back. That's just my number that I've put on there. Looks like it's been opened before, so that's one of the dog's hairs that I've just removed there. Right, let's get this, we'll get the 4 screws out, lift the whole amp out. It comes out on this backboard, and then we'll take the backboard off and have a look. Right, you can see what we've got here. We've got power transformer, not ever so big. Output transformer, one EL84 6BQ5 and a couple of 12AX7s ECC83s. Let's swing it round and have a look at the back. As you can see there, we've just got an effects loop, speaker socket and a foot switch socket, which would probably be for that boost socket. Right, we'll get it upside down and take the board off. So before we take the bottom off this, we'll just check these tubes. I was getting ahead of myself there. Right, let's see. So we've got the generator going through it. You can see we've got nothing at all. Well, that's nice and warm, but they're cold. So I'm just going to flick the lights out and see if I can see the filaments glowing. Well, I can in the output tube, but not in the preamp tube. So if we come down, so I don't see any filament glow in those 2 tubes. It's unlikely both of them have blown at the same time, although not impossible, but they're stone cold. So that looks like the problem. It looks like we've got no filament voltage on the preamp tubes. An easy find, but will it be an easy fix? We need to switch off as well, because that EL84 will be getting an extra swage of volts on the filament. That's got warm very quickly. This amp's not been on long. Let's leave the lights back on, or that one at least. Right, we'll take the tubes out, and the tubes are the Marshall ones there, the Chinese ones. Just got to wait for him to cool down, and we shall remove him, tip it upside down and take the back off and have a look what we can see. Right, I've got this amp plugged in, we've got the tubes out. I'm going to check for some filament voltage. Nil point. On this one, the same, presuming the AC. I'm not really looked at, could do a find the schematic, see if the DC wired. 6.92 on that, on the output tube socket. Let's just put this on DC. Just switch that around. Yeah, so they're wired in they're DC, but we've only got 1.9 volts on those filaments there. 1.9, just about 2 volt, not just shy of 2 volts. So we've got some diodes here as well. What are these diodes? There's our 0.7. What we got on the other side? 0.7. 1.2. 1.2. 0.7. 1.9. So looks to me something to do with these here. Right, let me see if we can find a schematic. I've had a bit of a look round. Right, so I have just looked at the class 5 schematic, which people are saying is similar. Right, so having a bit of a look at this Marshall class 5 schematic, and it does seem very similar. This is the filament circuit here, and we'll just go on to manual focus on there. So every time I put my hand in front of it or any pointing device, it doesn't go out of focus. So we've got the heater feeds coming in here, AC, and you can see we've got the EL84 connected straight to that. And then off this side here, we've got the feed for the bridge rectifier, and here we've got the feed coming in here from the fuse, from that 3.15 amp fuse. So we should be seeing voltage here on D5 and D7. Now if I look in here, these are in fact labelled D5 and 7, so we've got D6, D5, D8 and D7, and that's exactly what we've got here. So that tallies up, even though this is a class 5 schematic, that tallies up. What is missing on here is the capacitors that you could see, the 4 yellow capacitors, which I would imagine are balancing the voltage across the diodes. So I've snipped the diodes and tested them, and they test okay. I measured while they was in circuit, I think it was the second one, and we got 2 or 3 meg on there when I measured it. The others had got 50 ohms on them, 50, 60 ohms. So as one of these capacitors gone short, would make sense. So we're going to have to get this board out. There's no way around it. We've got to get this board out, and to do that, let's have a look what that entails. We've got 3, 4, 5 bolts to get out, and then we need to label where all these wires go. Again, because we don't have a schematic, some of the things are obviously obvious where they go, but once we start getting into the power supply side of things, so we need to get a notepad and make some notes. This could prove a tricky one. They're very tiny. I tried to solder them out, and it's awkward to get in and things, and I thought I'm just going to end up burning the tracks off, so I cut them, and it'll be easier to work on it when it's out. We'll get some new diodes in there. Those caps, what's that? 104 at 100, so that's 0.1 at 100 volts. 104J 100. Right, let's make a start. First thing to check is I pulled the plug out, and I have. So we'll get these off. It's all pretty simple stuff, really quick. They've come off quite easily, and so has that one. So we've already got half of the stuff off of there. So we'll just get a pad and we'll write down the colours on here and where we're taking them from. Then we can get the board out. Right, so let's have a look then. So we've got those. We've got CN8, and CN8 is white. We've got CN9, and that is purple, or lilac as some people would call it. Then we've got a couple of wires here. They are for the pilot light, and that is a CN5 and CN6. So CN5 is red and CN6 is brown. So we've got those. Then we've got the AC coming in off the transformer, off the high tension. CN2 and CN1. They're both red. It's pretty obvious where they go. And then we've just got the AC coming in from the, for the filaments, that's CN3. I can't see what that is, but we know where they go, don't we? So we'll just put CN3 and orange. So there we go. So that looks to be everything on there. So we'll see how easy these actually come off now. There's always one, isn't there? That's those two off. Right, the board is out, and I always use these for pulling those off because they're smooth on the edges there. So we need to test these capacitors now here. So we need to test these capacitors here and see, just see if they're blown. So we need to get those out of circuit. What a nightmare that was to sort those out. So got the diodes, the new diodes in, and getting these out was a pain. They had to be all clipped, and even the capacitors I had to clip them to get them out, so I couldn't get to test them. These traces are so tiny, so small. Took ages to get because you have to be ever so patient or you burn the traces off just to get the solder out. Got the diodes in, got the capacitors in. These are still the same value, exactly the same, but obviously they're a little bit bigger, but they've gone in okay, and they should be more durable than those others. The question is though now, do we have voltage on our preamp tubes? Do we have DC filament voltage? So let's see. We'll back out on the camera a little there. We'll get our meter and try and get it in shot. Let's just back out the camera a bit more. There we go. So we can see the meter. Let's switch that on. There's no tubes in it still. Let's put a mains cable in there, and let's test. So switch on. Just put the current limiter on. first. Are we lit? Yes, we are. Let's watch the meter. Let's see if we've got any voltage. Yay! 7.49. Let's just check the other one. And there we go. So now we've got voltage. Obviously there's more than the 6.3 because there's no tubes in it, so it's not loaded down. Right, let's get the tubes in and see if it works. Right, I've got the tubes in, and I have actually tested these on the tube tester to make sure there's no shorts on them, because of course one of the tubes has gone short on the filaments, heated cathode short. That could have been what caused the problem, so I've checked those and they're fine. So let's switch on. We've got a 60 watt bulb in the current limiter, which is more than enough for this amp. So we'll switch on. We've got the signal generator plugged into it. Let's see. Bulb's gone dim. 80 milliamps we're drawing. 214 volts going in. That'll drop when the tubes start to conduct. And we're not. Oh, I've not plugged in the doofra. There we go. And there we go. Let's go for something a bit easier on the ears. In fact, try that. There we go. We're running. That's the treble, mid, bass. Ooh, that's the tilt, which is almost like another treble control. Check the oops, wrong one. Yeah, that's the high power switch. It's all looking good. Just stick a 100 watt bulb in with the 60. That's 160. You see the voltage. We've got 230 volts now going in. That's all looking good. So I think we can call. It's only that cable. I think we can call that a fix. So we'll get it in its case. This camera's drifted again. We'll get it in its case and we'll give it a demo. And one of the things I always do on these chassis is just rub a file up the edges of these, because they're like razor blades. If you're not expecting it when you take these out of the case, they could cause you some damage. It's really poor that they don't finish those off properly. They're really sharp, so I've just took that off there now, so next person that gets in it, if picks it up at the sides there's no risk of them cutting the hands. Right, I've got this Origin 5 ready to rock and roll. And I thought we'd do this demo a bit different. Instead of watching me, we can have a look at the controls on the amp. So the first thing we notice about this amp is it doesn't have a lot of bass. It's also a little boxy. And a bit of a honky tone. That's with all the mid out. Oops. So let's pull this boost. again, with no master volume, you can't really tell what this amp's like flat out unless we crank it, and it is 9:25 at night, so I can't really crank this amp. But just pulling that out a bit has certainly livened it up. So this tilt is just like another tone control, really. Oops. So I got this guitar on single coil, I've got it in humbucker mode now. So yes, it's a little nasally, a boxy tone, and it doesn't have a lot of bass. Let's put the mid in now. having said that, you can still get a reasonably good tone out of it on the neck pickup. So that's the Marshall Origin 5. So that was an easy diagnosis. It was just a tricky fix with that board. Getting that board out wasn't too hard, but getting those diodes out and those capacitors out and getting the solder out of the track holes was really difficult. I don't know what solder they'd used, but that was quite a job. Took me quite a long time. You've got to be very patient or you'll just burn away the tracers. But we've got it all sorted out in the end, and I think it was one of those capacitors that was short, which was pulling the voltage down. Because we had voltage, we just only had 1.9 volts of voltage, and I think that one of those capacitors was short, because when I measured across one of the diodes, remember the capacitors are in parallel with the diodes, we was getting a reading of 2 or 3 meg. So I think that tells us all the others were measuring about 50 ohms, 50, 60 ohms. So I'm guessing from that because obviously I had to cut the capacitors to get them out rather than solder them out, because that solder was so difficult and I didn't want to burn the tracers. It's very easy to get the leads out once you've cut the component off, especially those square type capacitors. You usually end up breaking off the tracers if you're not careful. So we didn't get to test those, is what I'm trying to say. We didn't get to test those caps, but I think one of them was short. But anyway, we've replaced the diodes, we've replaced the caps, we've got the amp running, it's all good. So would like to get my hands on one of these and mod it, get that bass up, certainly get some better tubes in it. But for an at-home amplifier, it's okay. It's a nice little tool. So that'll do it for this one. So thanks for watching. You all take care, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye bye for now.